Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CW Live. Welcome to everyone joining us on the union's Facebook page, Twitter page, or YouTube. We're going out on a variety of streams this afternoon. Also, welcome to anyone who's tuning in a bit later at your own leisure and watching us back as a recorded version. So we're pleased to bring you this very special edition of CW Live. As you might have seen on the CW Facebook page, we've reached a joint statement with Royal Mail Group. With me tonight is Dave Ward, General Secretary, and Terry Pullinger, Deputy General Secretary Postal. Dave and Terry will set out what that statement means, give some of the background. We'll take a few questions and then we'll wrap up. So the aim of this is not for it to be a full Q&A. It's essentially a statement, an information piece to you as a membership. What we also want from you, whilst we're building the crowd, is fantastic. I can see 1,500 people online already, so that's really heartening. What we also want from you is to let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how long you've been a member of the CWU, and let us know, what this union means to you. So before we go through any of that, though, and I'll start sharing some of your messages, I'm going to hand over to open the session to our General Secretary, Dave Ward. Over to you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon. It's an important moment in our dispute. Before we go into the statement, we do want to say that we recognise that it's a while since we've been able to communicate with you, since the previous CEO, Rico Batt, left, which seemed to go down well with a lot of our members. And we know that the pressure is very much on frontline workers. COVID-19 is causing problems right across the country, and the future's uncertain. But in that period, we've been talking, Terry and myself, to the chairman of the board, Royal Mail's chairman, and the new CEO, Stuart Simpson. And we've been able now to reach a joint statement that represents a very important breakthrough in the dispute. I suppose there's three elements to the statement, really. One of them is some upfront commitments, where you will see when you read the statement that we have shifted Royal Mail on some of the really big issues that were at the centre of the dispute. The second part of the statement says that in moving Royal Mail away from a lot of the executive action that they were doing as the dispute was progressing, they're going to cease that executive action. But what we're going to do is obviously recognise that we need to move fairly quickly now in addressing some of the financial and operational challenges that have accelerated letter decline and parcel growth during COVID-19. So there'll be a new approach to revision activity, and our teams will get in and discuss how that's going to happen. That will be taking full account of the ongoing impact of COVID-19. And thirdly, there's a process for further talks, which Terry and his team will lead. Myself and the chairman will oversee that on occasions. And, that gives us the opportunity to resolve all of the issues in the dispute. It also means that we'll be agreeing a fresh strategy for the future coming out of that. So some of the big points that have come out of it. One, very good news is that Royal Mail have now agreed to abandon their plan to set up a separate parcels company. That would be great news for our members in Parcel Force, who were being threatened to chupi over to that new company and would have known that that would have started to impact on their terms and conditions. But also it's great news for the whole of the membership, because that was a strategy. Terry and myself exposed that strategy during the course of the dispute, and we talked that through with the new leaders of Royal Mail. And it was clear that what the intentions previously were definitely to gradually shift all the work that grows into a new business and let the rest of Royal Mail, the core business, wither on the vine. We've now got them to move that position. They've recommitted to the 4 Pillars Agreement. Terry will no doubt go through some of that with you. And they've also recommitted to the legal protections that are very important in restricting what a private company can do. So 6 or 7 years into privatisation, in any other company, without that agreement, without the strength of you supporting the union, we would have seen the breakup of this company. And we've managed to avoid that. But perhaps one of the most important things in the statement is that, building on the fact that we've worked hard to ensure that our members are seen as key workers in the country, Royal Mail has now agreed to develop a wider strategy than just parcel growth. Parcel growth is important. We've got to deal with that. It will increase revenue. It'll help protect jobs. But we want more than that. And the company have agreed that we're going to work out a plan to maintain a USO that's economically viable and that can potentially expand the products that go through it. They've agreed that we're going to diversify and expand the role of postal workers in supporting local communities, in supporting local business and regional business growth, and playing an important role, really, in the UK's recovery from COVID-19. So we've convinced them that there's a lot more to offer about the future than just thinking about parcels, as important as that is. So we think it's a very good statement. You know, want to make it clear, it doesn't mean the dispute is over. There are some big issues that we still face, and we're confident that from now on in, it's the right thing to get stuck into some serious talks with a company, and we've got a good platform now to do that. So that's the news that's come from us today. I'm sure Terry will add to that.
Thank you, Dave. Over to you, Terry.
Yeah, we've got to remember we've been in dispute for 2 years, which is arguably one of the longest ever UK disputes. People forget that. So there's a lot of trust to be rebuilt. But our dispute fundamentally was about the direction of the leadership of Royal Mail, the Royal Mail managers under Rico Back. In our opinion, they didn't have any time for our previous agreements. They didn't believe that they were affordable. And whilst they were sort of trying to tick the boxes that they wanted to talk to us and work to our agreements, everything was about imposition, trying to impose revisions. We've got over 600 disagreements out there, trying to impose their plan for the future. They're what they call Journey 24. That wasn't something that was agreed with us as a union, even though in 2018, the Four Pillars Agreement clearly acknowledged all the challenges our industry has got, which have intensified over the last 2 years, and have also sort of been affected by what's gone on in the last few months, which is unprecedented. But that was our major problem, and it's significant that Rico Back has gone. And the next thing to discover was where the new leadership of Royal Mail, if you like, where they were going to come from, and were they going to carry on with the same sort of attitude and disrespect this trade union and disrespect our agreements? Or were they coming to realise that this union has always had excellent ideas? We've always been pragmatic and progressive, how we've dealt with the challenges of our industry. But of course, we always insist that our members get the right deal as well. So mutual interest solutions was what the 2018 agreement was all about. And our members' job security, of course, and retirement security and everything that goes with it. So all of that stuff was on the line. Because with new leadership of Royal Mail coming in, especially in the current environment, and we can all see what's going on around us, where there are companies that we believe are overreacting and using the pandemic to drive through changes that they possibly had in mind anyway, which are, resulting in redundancies for workers and cut terms and conditions, etc. The new leadership of Royal Mail could have come in and been in the same place. So it was absolutely important that Dave and I got in a room with the most senior people and basically said, well, where are you coming from? And are we going to resolve our dispute? Are we going to work together? Et cetera, et cetera. And the statement speaks volumes in that regard. So to get the new management leadership to recommit to all our agreements, to working together, to developing a plan for the future together, so a joint plan, not one that's imposed on us, and for us to be able to raise all the issues in our dispute. So anyone who reads it will see there's a sort of staggered approach to it, which starts off with us working together to see what can reasonably be done, what can be done in the meantime in terms of efficiency, notwithstanding the fact we're in the pandemic. So all the time we've still got social distancing, one to a van, all the PPE, which is a massive cost, of course, to the business, but it also affects how our members work and I believe, or we both believe, and we've emphasised this in the talks, has placed huge pressure on our members who've responded fantastically to that. So that's got to be taken into account. But we're going to see what we can do working together. And if we can do that successfully, or come up with a model in the next couple of weeks of how we intend to do that, then we would also expect pay to be dealt with, pay April 2020. So we know the business under Ecoback came directly out to you with a pay award. Obviously, it was relating to their plan, but it was trying to undermine our ballot, our second ballot that we had. But nevertheless, they came out and they was already heading in the direction of challenging finances, because they put out their half-yearly results and said that, and yet they still offered some sort of pay deal. So we've been insisting that if we're going to move forward, our members deserve a pay award this year. Not just for what they've done through the pandemic, which is amazing, but also what they've done all year round. Despite the drop in letters or increase in parcels, our members are still delivering and still out there doing a great job. So we've tried to find the right balance. There's some massive commitments in there at our level. Now, we understand if you're a member in the workplace, this statement doesn't change anything immediately for you. But what it does mean is now that your lead negotiators are going back into talks with a really solid foundation and a commitment from both parties in line with this joint statement. So every point in there is massive. Even the fact that they're agreeing that we should have a joint strategy to protecting the USO, which is a major issue as well. That means jointly we would come up with a plan for the USO, and we could jointly make representation to the regulator and government, as well as individually, if that helps. But to have the company say that to us now at this stage is massive for us, because we never felt that commitment under Ecoback. They never wanted to talk about really protecting the USO. There was different types of language being used. And that's because we suspected, rightly or wrongly, that all that plan was about was turning Royal Mail basically into a massive parcel company and having no real commitment to the USO and the connectivity we give everyone in this country. So, these are massively important points to us as negotiators. I'd ask people to just understand that. Having these things in place mean the talks should start in the right spirit. And they haven't been in the right spirit now for over 2 years. Even when we went to mediation, they were just going through the process because all they wanted to do is get out the other side of that and then impose stuff on us. And they would have started attacking our agreements. Very important agreements like MTSF that's been recommitted to, that protects you if we do have to have job losses and deal with that, redundancies, albeit it'd have to be voluntary. These things are crucial to change. They've always have been. That's why those agreements are in place. They help us deal with the challenge of change, which no one really likes. We all know this industry has got to change. Everything changes. And we've got to get the right agreement for our people. This is a crucial moment for us as lead negotiators. We understand this isn't the type of a statement that has you carrying us through the streets, our members, because it doesn't address the fundamentals in the workplace immediately. But it gives us the platform to get in there and deal with them in a genuine way, which has been so sadly lacking for a couple of years. We're only in this position because of our strength, because of the support that our people have given us, without question. There will be other unions around this country at the moment trying to deal with all the impacts of where we are in the country, where the economy is, and you've heard about all the other job losses, who I think would love to be in a position we're in. We have got a statement here to enter talks to deal with it in a proper way. People haven't come along to us and just said this is happening, and that's where the previous leadership were. I think it's been the new chairman and the new CEO. I think both Dave and I think it's been refreshing, actually, listening to some of their views, listening to the fact that they agree with us that it should be about growth. This shouldn't just be about giving up on letters and shrinking this business. The way to protect this great business and public service is growth and vision, and concentrate on what we're going to do about that and genuinely try to diversify and build on the fact that when people were losing sight of that, the irony of this pandemic, build on the fact that we've been clearly shown to be an essential service and that our members are key workers. We got to build on that and try and build other products and services around that. And this union's been saying that for a long, long time. So some of the language will be familiar to you. But to get people to recommit to it on where we are now is a massive step for us as negotiators, and what follows will put us in the best position to then start dealing with your issues and protect you going forward.
Thank you, Terry. Excellent stuff. So I'm going to just pop a couple of questions to you guys, and then I'm sure we'll be doing many more of these Facebook Lives as the weeks go on and as the negotiations go on. Who knows, maybe we'll even have Royal Mail on here with you guys on one occasion or two. Dave, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the context, because, I mean, if you roll back with Terry and yourself in negotiations, even a couple of months ago, you know, Royal Mail were moving away from national agreements. We had the threat of a breakup of the group with the sell-off of Parcel Force. You know, you yourself, along with Terry, labelled it as, you know, potential derecognition of the union at one point when the stakes were really, really high. Legal protections under threat. This is significant progress, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely progress from where we've been. I mean, there's been a lot happening. I mean, the CEO went, didn't he? And I remember the session we had some weeks back now, and it was clear that our members were celebrating, a lot of them, that the CEO had gone. And we were saying at the time, look, we've got to make sure that it's not just about one person, it's about the strategy of the business. And it has taken us some weeks to talk through some of these issues with the leaders of the business. And the context as well of COVID-19 is really important, because if you look at what's happening around us, Terry mentioned that. I mean, I sit on lots of calls with other trade union leaders. We talk to the government, we talk to the Labour Party about how we're going to deal with the problems that we're facing in the economy. And I think what we've been trying to do for some time is build on the fact that our members have been classified as key workers, the fact that we've got an unrivaled infrastructure, and we could be doing so many more things. And we always felt that, you know, one of the damaging things that the previous plan seemed to be about was that it was setting Royal Mail up as though the only thing it could ever do was be just another glorified parcels courier. And that would have cost us thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs. And what we've got the company to do here is recognise now that there's a lot more to offer and a lot more opportunities to grow work and grow jobs. Now, it's not going to be easy. And, you know, what I would say about the context is all of our members would have seen Royal Mail's positioning on their finances. And, you know, I think that they've done that many, many times in the past. They do face some major, major challenges. And the status quo, you know, I think we've got to be clear on this. Staying as we are is not going to protect jobs. And I think members understand that point. It's always about how we change and are we going to shape and influence that change. And we believe that the statement, the conversations we've had, give us the best opportunity to do that. So we're mindful of the context. Context is very challenging. It is for every worker in the country. And, you know, our own members have done a great job in the last couple of months. So we're pleased to be able to come out with this statement and try and move things forward for them going forward.
Thanks, Dave. Terry, I'm going to come to you. You touched on it a little bit in your opening statement about relationships, the new relationships. I mean, I suppose to be as frank as possible, I don't think the relationships between the union and management could have been worse over the last couple of years. What level of confidence from what you've seen and you've witnessed in the last month or so do you have that things are going to change now?
Well, you've always got to, you know, you've always got to be optimistic, and we have to be. Listen, there's going to be a huge psychology around all of this coming out of dispute, and I'm talking about for me, for Dave, for the officers, for the EC, for our field officials, senior field officials, area reps, local reps, depot reps, whatever, wherever we've got reps, we've got them everywhere. You know, we effectively, from an industrial perspective, we've been at war for 2 years. And it's not just like clicking a switch. We know we're going to have to work with people, and we're going to have to demonstrate from the very top that we are rebuilding trust. And I mean, we go in with our eyes wide open. We've been here a good few times. So, and we're under no illusions. You know, if we're not met in the right way, we still defend ourselves however long it goes on. But there is a huge psychology to it. I know a lot of our people locally, I understand that, you know, because, well, we do, because of the pressure they've been under and everything else, to suddenly say we've now got to start being proactive and work together and we've got to change. No one likes change, etc., etc. And that's very true. No one does like change, do they? But equally, I credit our people with enough, with far more intelligence than I think sometimes management do. And we know we've got to meet these challenges. People would have seen the decline in letters, especially through the pandemic. Now, we hope it comes back, and we're going to try. And we've already spoke to the business. And so, in fact, they're looking now at stimulus to try and drive up the letter growth. We're going to try and get that back. It's hugely important to protecting the USO. We try and get letters back. And that they are proactive in that. They don't just give up on letters. We're refusing to do that. And it's important the company does that. Now, with the last administration, we were totally unconvinced that they had any real desire to do that. Now that seems to be different. And if, as we go back in the room and we start to rebuild trust and some of the stuff falls away, then, you know, if we see that, that'll be good. It'll be positive. Our dispute, listen, you don't strike your way to an instant agreement, do you? Our dispute is about getting us in the room to get respected for proper negotiations. We ain't had proper negotiations for the last 2 years. This union has been disrespected. To disrespect this great union, then you've got to have some attitude about you. And I sense, and I think Dave does as well, I sense that the new leadership of Royal Mail recognise they have to respect us, and that if they're truly going to be successful, they're going to have to take this union and its membership with them. And that is the truth. They are going to have to do that. And unless, you know, they want all out war and it all gets wrecked. We don't want that. We don't want to go back into dispute. We want a resolution. We always did, and we always want to move, and we want to move it forward. Let me say something else that's significant here, and Dave touched on it. In my previous job, to all our Parcel Force members, you know, I looked after, when I first became an officer, I looked after Parcel Force, close to my heart. And what was happening there, without doubt, they were going to do that. That was a red line for them. They even wrote to our members in Parcel Force, Gary Simpson did, and told them straight, you will be stupid and we'll let you know when. And you're going into a limited company. We always believed the next move for that was a limited company within the group, and then they would have moved it out the group, which wouldn't have required a TUPE, and therefore they wouldn't have fallen foul of our legally binding agreement. That was their plan, and we absolutely believe now, and we led to believe, and we understand that was the plan. So in effect, they were barefaced lying to us about Parcel Force, that they wouldn't move it out of the group and it was no problem to our members, etc. This union knew. And the best place for our Parcel Force members, without doubt, and any of our members, is within the Royal Mail Group, with this union looking after them. Now, they've got our challenges in Parcel Force as well, we have, and there'll have to be changes there. But without doubt, our members are far better protected now, back in the group. And for us to achieve that in this joint statement, Dave and I, and this isn't about blowing our own trumpet, but that is no mean feat. A private company had made a decision that it didn't intend to go back on. That is massive movement for us. And that alone, Chris, signals that they are prepared to do the right thing on other stuff. So that's the first sign that we've had. And we need to keep building and developing those signs, because that's where confidence will grow every time we move another thing forward jointly and with mutual interest. That is the first signal that suggests this is going to be different.
Thank you, Terry. Excellent. I'm just going to ask you one more question each, and I'm going to give you the chance to sum up. And Dave, I think it was either Terry or yourself at the top of the session made this point. I think it might have been you actually, Dave, where maybe this statement would be seen for exactly what it is from our activists. They would know what it was. But maybe some of our members would be saying, like, yeah, where's our pay deal? What about my problems in the office? What would your messages be to our members who are reading this statement as they view this session?
Well, I think that what people will need to recognise, and I'm sure they will, is that the issues we're dealing with are massive. You know, they really are about the future of this whole industry. And there is no way that you can resolve all of those problems in one bit of paper from where we've been to where we need to get to. And, you know, we talk a lot about change. And one thing that we're always saying, we're convinced that if we stay exactly as we are now, if we just carry on, we're going to lose. This industry's finished. We have to change. The debate has always been about what's the direction of that change and how do you do it. And these are really, really big issues. So the context is also that to get the right answer, ultimately, we're going to have to start talking to government about the future of Royal Mail, the future of the USO. We watch what's going on internationally. The USO is under attack right across the world because of letter decline. Everybody's saying that COVID-19 has accelerated the trends. Royal Mail has responded previously in a certain way with its strategy. Now we've got an opportunity to do it differently. So, what I'd say to our members is remember that there's still a lot that we've got to do in order to create the future of this industry. And we think that we've got the best position now to do that, but there's lots of work to do to get it into the right shape. So, we are being clear about that as well.
Thanks, Dave. Terry, obviously looking at the statement, the time, and you've alluded to this, the timeframes are pretty tight. Do you have confidence that we can get that agreement within those timeframes? And a follow-up to that would be, can we reassure the members that we will communicate with them throughout the process? And how will we do that?
Yeah, I mean, they're heroic timescales, but it's because, the company ain't moved really for 2 years, has it? So in part of the building trust, let's be honest about it, in getting the company to sign up to the things we have, we've had to give them some confidence that we are prepared to move. They don't want to make a statement like that and then we just say we're not doing anything and we're not embracing change and we're not going to work with you, and we can't do that. Yeah, and Dave's just explained the logic of that. We don't just rely on management information. We know the challenges that are there across workers across the whole of the country. It's something that Dave is constantly working on the TUC on. He could be on here all night telling you some of the horror stories that are going on elsewhere. The best position we can in is the fact that they recognise this strong trade union and they're prepared to do business with us, which means we can influence that direction. It's not just what they say or, the grab for cash that they might want to make. But we have got to show them that we are prepared to move in the right direction. And then what comes after that all falls into place, doesn't it? So I've said about the move on Parcel Force, massive move on their part. Now we've got to make some moves. And that first move will be, well, we need to see what's going on locally. Where are there efficiencies that we can offer up that could have been dealt with, but we were holding back because we were in dispute? How can we do some sort of revision activity in a lot of offices that haven't had proper revisions or revision for a long time? That all their duties must be out of sync. When you've got a decline in letters and a growth in parcels, sorting some of that stuff out can be a positive as well, by the way, and take some of the pressure off of our members. But to start doing this sort of stuff together is a key component to building where we go in the future. So make no mistake, where we want to get to is the bit that resolves our dispute, that gets a joint strategy for the future. The real bigger picture is where we need to get to. This first process is about growing confidence on both sides. Now, our message to management is let's be reasonable about what you're doing. Well, you've got to be reasonable while we've still got all the pandemic arrangements still in place. But let's be reasonable coming out the side of it. What we want is progress. We want to start moving. And I don't come steaming in and trying to just impose the same sort of stuff we was getting from the previous people. Well, we're not going to get that because the statement clearly says new revision activities. They won't be based on all the old proposals that they were assuming at some point they were just going to press a button and impose. But it does require us to respond. We've got to respond positively and give this a chance. We have now got an opportunity to get in the room and genuinely negotiate and also put in place some very quick moves to start demonstrating we're moving forward. And then as we move forward, confidence grows, and that's how we secure the other big ticket issues. Don't forget, in the company signing up to our agreements and the 4 Pillars Agreement, that means we've still got an agreement. So whatever the future holds, that brings a 35-hour week for our members. So if the future has been accelerated towards us and we've got to do a deal on that, then so has the 35-hour week been accelerated towards us. We are not backing off of any of those things. We knew that agreement, things like the short working hours, that was all about protecting jobs as well. Because as we go forward, technology or the impacts of letter decline or parcel growth, etc., All those things, we knew we were going to have to deal with it. We knew there'd have to be change. And all of our agreements for years, it does make me laugh. A geezer on Sky News said to me about new technology, as if we've never seen a new bit of technology in Royal Mail. We've never dealt with it. And sometimes we forget, our union forgets, our members and our activists. We had to deal with mail centre rationalisation. Massive thing that we had to deal with. But we dealt with it. We had no compulsory redundancies. We protected all of our members. We've continued to improve their terms and conditions, their work security and their retirement security. That's what this union is all about. And when someone comes in and they want to attack all that and try and make us out not to be a pragmatic union, we may be aggressively pragmatic, but we are pragmatic. Someone tries to attack this trades union, we stand up. And that's what we've had to do for the last 2 years. Now we've got to get back to what we've always done best, and that is shaping our future to protect our members. And we have done that all through the years. So there's no reason why we can't do it now, Chris.
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to ask you both to just take a minute or so to sum up with your final messages to the reps and members now, starting with Dave Ward, General Secretary.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in a position now where we've made some progress, and I hope you read the statement, and I'm sure that you'll see in the succinct way it's written that some of the upfront commitments in there really do change the direction of this dispute in our favour. I think more than that, it lays the platform for the future. We keep saying there's going to be change. We want our members to be part of that change. And I've always believed that this industry, whilst it's operating in a rapidly moving environment, and the traditional work we've done is clearly not going to sustain all of the jobs that we've had in the past. We've got opportunities by using you as our greatest asset in rebuilding what this company could look like. And whilst there's a pandemic that's a crisis, what comes with that is opportunities as well. So, you know, we're pleased that we've got this statement. It wouldn't have been delivered without your support, without the company knowing that it wasn't enough to get rid of the actual CEO. It was about making sure that going forward, there was a different direction. I think that's very clear that there is a different direction, challenges ahead. Thanks for your support, and we'll deliver a really good agreement as a result of this.
Thank you, Dave. Final words to you, Terry?
Yeah, just to say to everyone, there's absolutely no way we forget what's happened to us and what we've gone through over the last 2 years. We never forget that. We keep that at the forefront of our mind. But now this is what we've been fighting for. We've been fighting for the right to have a genuine influence in the future of our company and protect our members. This is the moment. This is why this is a significant moment. We are now going back into the room for the first time in 2 years, we believe, to have proper negotiations about how we protect you. And I would ask everybody to work with us on this. We can't forever be in dispute mode, and we can't move things forward. I know we've got a lot of sort of grudges, and I know we've got a lot of things we will never forget, but this is our moment now. This is a critical moment. And if we approach this with the right spirit, we know things have got to change. Start thinking about your offices in a positive way. If there's going to be some revision activity, tabletop revision as we tend to call it, if there's going to be some quick activity in there, see what can be done positively. Help your rep out to try and make sure you get an agreement. And if there's efficiencies in there, then let's hand them up. That's not a problem. And let's move forward. Let's get you guys a pay deal and get us into those bigger talks to shape the future. But you know, if we can't keep blocking everything, if nothing moves, there's no celebration, you know, in sort of glorified defeat, and we end up with no industry and no jobs. We're in a prime position now, we believe, to get in that room. We will be respected, we will be listened to, and we can start genuinely shaping the agreement, shaping the future in the way we envisaged when we made our agreements, you know, the Growth and Stability Agreement, the 2018 agreement. If anyone chooses to read them, they're all about change. They're all about growth. They're all about being progressive as an industry and making sure we protect a great public service and protect our members' jobs. Nothing's changed for us, and we're going in that room now, and hopefully we will deliver that in whatever form it looks like, and we will protect our members. Let it be never on the news that there's X amount of thousands compulsory redundancies of postal workers. We will never be in that position. And if we move forward and we negotiate and we're pragmatic in the right way, we will make sure that never happens. That's the prize. Protect this great industry and protect you from all the sort of stuff that's happening to other workers. We're back in the game. We're back in the room. And it is thanks to you. Dave's right. The backing you've given this union over the last 2 years has got us in this position and has got us this joint statement with the new leadership of Royal Mail. Thanks very much for your support.
Thanks, Terry. So just really shortly to close it up, everyone, thank you to both Dave and Terry for taking their time to come on and have a chat with you. Most importantly, thank you to all of you, our reps and our members who have tuned in, and those who haven't been able to tune in, who have supported this union over what's been a really, really tough period. The union's back in the room, and that's because, as Terry Pullinger says, because of all of you. Good night, everyone. Take care.